room has finished and been upgraded. So some features of the room: around the top up above you, there are speakers. One of the issues previously is when you spoke into the mic, you could hear in the audience, but you couldn't hear each other. The speakers up above you, if Mr. Kraft speaks into his microphone, the speakers will pick him up lower because his resident voice will actually carry to Mr. Warren up through Mr. Kapora, but it will be a little louder on the left-hand side for Mr. Heckman, and vice versa. The room has 3 cameras, 2 of which are active right now. The camera that was on the podium previously is going to be disconnected. The camera above Ms. Shafniski is the one that is recording me right now speaking to you. The camera back here, furthest or closest to you, is the one that's showing the dais. The third camera will have the capability to do a couple of different things. It will probably be able to zoom in on people as they speak. We're trying to figure out the production value of the meeting right now. That camera is inactive. Primarily, if the camera jumps right now, it makes you not feel so well on the video. So we're trying to figure out a happy medium there as to how we're going to make that work. The TVs in the room, they work as follows. The 2 TVs behind you can broadcast the same thing at the same time to the audience, okay? Those TVs can broadcast something different to the audience than the TVs behind you that face you here, okay? And then the third set of TVs are all the TVs on the dais in front of you, okay? So you technically could have a Zoom presentation up here while there's a presentation being projected to the audience and to you here so that you can see a fellow council member. Remember, though, when we broadcast, you are limited to the picture-in-picture options of the broadcast medium. And right now, the picture-in-picture for YouTube and several broadcast mediums is 1 picture-in-picture, okay? So that being said, during production of the meetings, we're going to have to think about how we do this. So when a presentation is going on, do we get rid of the dais of council, show the presentation big, and then show the presenter in the lower screen? Or do we show the presentation big and keep it on council and get rid of the presenter? There's a lot of different ways we can do that. We're still working out some of the kinks to that. The biggest change for members of county council, okay, we are now going to be using not the telephone service, which we had a little bit of a hiccup here today. We are actually utilizing something what we call Zoom. It's Zoom, but it's called Zoom Room, okay? And what that basically is an annex that you set up. So if you are remote, you will have a special Zoom connection with a password that you will be able to get into. It will operate as a Zoom meeting. You will be able to see the meeting room and everything else going on as one participant in the room. So everybody will be the room participant, and anyone who joins via Zoom will be a separate box and a separate participant. The reason we are going to do it that way is because it gets rid of all buffering. The room and the annex where people are logging into, the virtual Zoom room, are now broadcasting the same way, going to the internet at the same time. You cannot call in on your phone unless you are through Zoom. You have to use the Zoom client from your phone. If you call in, you're going to have the issue we have here, and you're going to have lag from the video because we can't get around the YouTube lag for broadcast. So the other thing this will prevent, if you remember the feedback loops that we had, everybody's microphone will not pick up the people in the room. So for example, when Mr. Brown, if he was on a Zoom right now, as opposed to being on Mr. Graffredo's phone, one of the things that would happen is you would have the Zoom, you would hear him in the room, but the amplification is set to not pick up his voice and send it back out to the internet, okay? That was part of the calibration we were doing while you guys were away in December to make sure the room worked accordingly. So the Zoom room, I probably will not have it set up for second meeting of the year that you'll be able to use the Zoom room and everything will be fine. It's a licensing and testing issue right now. Your county council member or your county council clerk and the person in the back will be able to have access to mute and unmute microphones in the room, okay? The podium mic, as well as all the microphones there and all the microphones in the back. Our hope is when we end the meetings, we'll be able to mute all the mics in the room so there's not excess noise as people talk and go about leaving the meeting or exiting the meeting. Also, making sure that in the beginning of the meeting, until we're ready to call things to order, there isn't any excess conversation pre-meeting that gets picked up and broadcast inadvertently over the web. The other thing is some folks forget to turn on their microphones. If we notice someone's talking and the microphone isn't on, either Aileen or Jen can do it from their positions in the back. The final thing is for presentations. There will no longer be a computer here. The presentations need to be in prior to. IT and the person who's producing the meeting downstairs could rush around if need be to get a presentation in. If Jen has the Zoom up, she is going to be able to load up into the computer in the back. There's a computer that stands alone in the back, a presentation that can then be captured. It will be remote controlled by the person downstairs. They will load up the presentation and slides can be forwarded using this remote control. It connects to a computer in the closet over there, and they'll just be able to click the button to go forward and backwards, okay? And then talk about their presentation or what they're showing you, all right? Of course, you can still do handouts and all that other good stuff too, but that's just some of the features of the room. I can't stress enough, though, that you need to use the Zoom client to be able to interact separately. And there will also be no members of the public on there. So to do courtesy of the floor, they still have to come here. It's going to be a lockdown room with a specific password that only council members will have. And we will rotate it from time to time as well to get you the new passwords to make sure that nobody gets into the meeting and does anything obscene or untoward that we're broadcasting and then gets our channel shut down on YouTube. Any questions about anything? Yes, Mr. Kraft.
What if you have an executive session and say, I'm not here and, Ron's not here, we can't be here, we're in executive session back there. Is there anything set up back there for us to do executive session? I can stay in the Zoom room and have it carried back there?
There is not. What I would suggest is potentially if there's going to be an executive session and the person is remote, Aileen has her conference phone. I would suggest disconnecting from the Zoom meeting temporarily because the room will itself stay up. Call into Aileen's phone or however you take part in the executive session, and then, of course, reconnect. That would be the best way to do it. So it is just for this room alone. And we wouldn't want to do anything like that because, A, we wouldn't want to broadcast an executive session inadvertently. So if you're on remotely, make sure you disconnect or mute your other phone if you're going to call in like from a house phone. And B, one of the things I would do is you would want to avoid any feedback loops or anything that now this room sort of locks down. Thank you.
Okay. Any other courtesy of the floor? Next, we have selection of county council officers. First, we'll vote for president of county council. Would someone make a motion to nominate a candidate?
I'll make a motion to nominate Lori Vargo Hefner for president.
Someone second that nomination?
The nomination doesn't need to be seconded.
Okay, sorry.
Call for,
Is there another nomination?
I nominate Jeff Warren for council president.
Is there another nomination? Motion to close nominations?
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, so for the vote, state the name of the person that's your choice.
Madam President?
Yes.
Do you mind if I make a couple comments with regard to why I am seeking the position? Would that be okay? Or
I don't care.
I first and foremost, why I am seeking this position for council president, and I've mentioned it to a few of my colleagues during the course of the winter break, is I believe we need to effectively govern in this chamber. I think that's our first duty, and to look out what's truly best for our taxpayers and for our residents. And in my first year, I really witnessed, and I think all of us did, witnessed a lot of discord between the council president and the administration. And quite frankly, I think we need to have a conduit on this council who will actually sit down, meet with the county executive, hash out issues, and have an open dialogue with the administration as we're moving forward. At the end of the day, this position should be about how we can govern most effectively, and it's a message that I sent to those individuals that I spoke to over the course of the past couple weeks. And secondly as well, and I think this is important, if folks in this chamber and our taxpayers want us to govern effectively, it is probably not the best idea in the world to elect a council president who may potentially be on the ballot this year. And sure, there have been council presidents in the past who have been on the ballot in an election year, but if we want to continue to have the politicization of this chamber even more and put even more sand in the gears, electing a council president who's going to be on the ballot, I don't think electing someone who is on the ballot is a good idea. Elect someone who is not running. So those are the reasons why I wanted to run for council president. I know I've only been on this council for 1 year. I've learned a lot, and governing is most important to me. And I believe I'll be an effective president of this council. So, Madam President, thank you very much for indulging.
Sure.
Can I say something?
Sure.
We just I'm one of the people that Jeff spoke to. I spoke to Jeff. I think it's certainly worth hearing what he said. I think, though, that we have to be very clear that the county government is two parts if you're excluding the courts. And I have always said, it's a very old saying, if you want respect, give respect. And as much as you may feel that council has been disjointed and discord and whatnot, there are things council does and there are things the administration does. And sometimes the overlap is more political than beneficial. And so that's just something that I think is important. I certainly have always respected the executive branch and their independence and working with them, but I'm not directed by them, and nor will I ever be, regardless of who the executive is, or regardless of what party they are. So I do think I'm looking forward to the year. I'd like us to all try to work together, and as far as getting things done, if they're worth getting done, then I'm sure we can get them done. But there'll always be disagreements. You have 9 people, 9 personalities, and we all have our own opinions. The executive branch has one opinion. No matter who stands in front of us, we have one opinion, and that's the executives. So I just think, you know, if we are honest with ourselves, we'll do fine. If not, we won't. That's just my take on it.
Thank you.
May I say something?
Sure.
So, last year, the president of this council did not meet with the county executive one time. She was given over 9 different dates to meet with him. Said that she was too busy, she had to work, said she would get back to him, and never did with any dates to meet with him. The president had time to go to CCAP conferences, the DNC, LVEDC, the NACO, Discover Lehigh Valley, all these things that she had been appointed to, but did not make time to meet with the county executive one time in the entire year. Now, I get it, we're two different entities, and you know, we're equal, and I think that we need a president that's going to be collaborative, make time to meet with the county executive, hear his projects, work with him, come back to us, and that's why I will be voting for Jeff. Nothing really got done last year in 2024, And if the county wants to move forward, we need somebody that is going to be willing to work with the county executive and also be collaborative. And I just want to remind everybody that we still have not gotten a report from the $3,000 trip to NACO. And I don't understand why $3,000 was paid by the taxpayers and nothing happened towards that.
Yes.
I was considering putting my hat into the ring for president because I spoke to Lori and she said she considered possibly not doing it because of the amount of attention the position brings and the amount of attacks she's taken personally. Perfect example. Kelly, I would like to start this year off on a new foot, one that, and I will bring it to your attention now, that is the type of attention that makes this whole council much more of a negative place to work. And it's hard to get things accomplished when we are fearing political attacks or personal attacks, whether it be, here, on social media, or anywhere. I don't think anybody here ran for these positions in bad faith. I think we're all here because, like Mr. Heckman said, we all have opinions. They may be different, but I don't think they're bad. And I think we all do have full-time jobs, and I think we all have lives outside of here. And I think the administration has a prerogative. And it is not our duty to agree with that prerogative. It is our duty to govern, and I don't think we wasted this year. Yeah, there were things that the administration wanted to do that they didn't accomplish. Sometimes gridlock is part of democracy, especially when things aren't agreed upon. Sometimes no progress is progress. But if we continue to get here, whether we're pushing somebody's agenda or our own, but we do it with personal attacks, this place will continue to be as, I wouldn't say unproductive, but as nasty as it was last year. And I don't want that because it wasn't like that the first 2 years I was here, and I don't want to see it going for the next year. I'm definitely here for one more year. Hopefully I'm here for 4 more years if I get reelected. I don't want him to be like last year. So with that being said, I'm going to support Ms. Hefner because she does have a lot of experience. Mr. Warren, like I said, I was thinking about doing it. My biggest concern was maybe I don't have enough experience and know all the ins and outs of the position. So for that fact alone, I'm probably going to support Lori. But I commend you for putting your hat in the ring, and I appreciate everything you have to say. I appreciate everybody's opinion here when it's come from good faith. But when it comes from a position of, I'm going to dig somebody because I have the microphone and the opportunity to do so, I stop listening right away. And it's hard to take you seriously when you do it. So I would hope going forward, we just start talking to each other like human beings, because that's what we are. We don't need to be attacking each other. We can get a lot more done if we work together amongst the 9 of ourselves. And then we can deal with the administration. But if we're fighting amongst ourselves, we're never going to get anything done.
Can I respond?
Sure.
So I don't think I made any opinions with what I said. It is a fact that the president did not meet with the county council. She was not collaborative with him. I did not make any opinions. I did not call her names. I stated facts. And if we want the county council to move forward, then we need a president who is going to work with the county executive and not obstruct him and not avoid him. So I don't understand why you keep thinking that I'm attacking you. I'm not attacking anybody.
attacking
I
me.
said facts. And I want to bring it to everybody's attention because we want to elect somebody who is going to bring us forward. And the previous president has not. That is not my opinion.
Speaking of facts, when you guys first came on, I said we couldn't have another rubber stamp with Paul Anthony when we were voting for the 4th member. And you guys all lined up and said, how dare you call us rubber stamps? Tell me the one time when you went against the administration's agendas. And then I will say we need to have a president that leads this council to be independent of the administration. And for that reason, I will be supporting Ms. Fargo Hefner.
The only thing I'd like to state, and ordinarily I wouldn't want to state anything, but I think sometimes facts are fiction. They're facts as stated by somebody who thinks they know something. I attempted to meet Mr. McClure last year early on. We did have correspondence. Several dates were laid out for which he selected. He selected the dates and times. I work a full-time job. I see patients. He selected all patient times in spite of me stating the times I was available. We finally came to an agreed-upon date, and he canceled that meeting. I have those documents, and I can prove that. Therefore, after trying so many times, you get the message somebody doesn't want to meet with you. Regardless, I've been president 3 other times. I will continue to support council's work. I will forward council's agenda. And because the county executive's needs were not all met, does not mean that council had an unproductive year. As far as NACO, I will state it again. When I hear people's reports from CCAP, I will consider giving a NACO report. Several people attended CCAP last year. I question whether they went to any workshops. So when I get their reports, I'll give mine. And that's the end of that.
Real quick, Madam President, if you
Yes.
don't mind, just with regard to my candidacy for the council president position. Look, county executive, his administration, and we don't 100% agree on every single thing that may come before this council. I'm not going to get into private conversations that I've had with the county executive, but I can tell you that we've been able to work on, and hash out any sort of differences. And I believe that's what we need in terms of our council president. It's called effective communication. I'm not directed, Mr. Heckman, to do anything. I am not directed to vote a certain way. I'm not told behind the scenes.
There's something that I said that.
Yeah, you mentioned that, we shouldn't be directed when you
I
were
didn't
responding
mention
to me.
you. I just said
Oh, I thought it was,
we as
I thought it was towards me. My apologies, Mr. Heckman. My apologies. I thought it was, to be honest. But yes, the county executive and I are aligned when it comes to wanting to keep taxes stable. County executive and I are aligned when it comes to wanting to fund open space initiatives. County executive and I are aligned when it comes to Graysdale and wanting to make sure that it stays in the county's hands for its residents and its families. But I'll be an effective communicator and conduit with the county executive and the administration as council president. And I know that the county executive and I would be able to hash out any sort of differences that we do have, and guarantee there would be some, but I don't always air out the dirty laundry here on county council. So that being said, I've said my piece. Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate it.
Sure. Just because, yeah, I didn't point to anybody. I said council as a whole because I respect all members of council. Everybody ran, everybody got elected, and you're just as much a representative of the people as the executive. And this isn't a bash the executive thing. I don't bash. I was president for 2 years, and I was said a few times, if you want respect, you give respect. And if you don't give respect, it's very hard to give somebody respect who blocks you or shuts you down. And I think it's great that you feel you can work with the president. I'd like to see we have seen a working relationship. We got when I was president, Mr. Kraft was here and he was president and then he left. And I was president and we finished the forensic center before you got elected. So, I mean, that was important. That was a big deal. It was a big bond, but a big price. We didn't get a bond, but we got it done. Just as I know we can get this other thing done if we work together, and I think there are ways to do it. But, there's going to be issues that come up where some council members agree with whatever's proposed and some don't. I've often said, but, that train has left the station, that I don't see it as productive. I don't see social media as very productive. I think it's a double-edged sword, but I think that, after every vote, I go on every single Democrat, and I've been a Democrat for over 50 years, so when somebody has over 50 years, you can talk to me about who's a Democrat and who's not. And I am a worker Democrat. I believe in that we have to look out for people, the working class. That being said, I've agreed with, I think what's amazing to me is I voted with the county executive's agenda probably 98% of the time. Now, and I know when Mr. Brackbill was president, county executive, I didn't get anywhere close to 98% of the time. Now, I didn't think of it as Republican or Democrat, but if the project warrants it, I'm fully supportive. And there are many times the executive and I have talked about different things. I haven't necessarily reported it up here, but I'm not going to do a public relations job for his projects. I mean, if I think it's a project that the county needs, that the county will benefit from, doesn't matter who the county executive is, I'll support it. But I'm not a MAGA. I mean, I'm not going to follow somebody who says turn left, I'll turn left. Or turn right, turn right. I mean, you know, I'm very much, and everybody who's ever known me knows, I'm a big parliamentary government person. You know, I believe like our founding fathers who created the Congress and then said, well, I guess we really need an executive. So what do we do? How do we do it? Because they were smart. They knew if you put too much power in one person's hands, it's a problem. And so that doesn't mean they're a tyrant or they're bad, but I prefer parliamentary government. I just do. I prefer the opinion of 5 personalities coming together. If they do that, I believe it's probably worthwhile. But I mean, you know, I've had things come forward. I said, yeah, it's a great idea. Let's run with it. So I mean, I think we have to be very careful. We don't personalize different comments up here. I've said things in general, and it has nothing to do with saying you're bad or you'd be a terrible president. I think you should go another year. I think next year, I don't know, maybe Mr. Kraft will be president, maybe you'll be president. I have no idea who'll be president. I won't be here, and hopefully I'll be in Florida. But the thing is, no, I respect everybody sitting up here. I don't always agree with you. So if I say something, it's not a personal thing. I mean, Mr. Kraft and I will go back and forth because you know, he can be a real pricky guy, and so can I. You know, we belong to the OB club. I won't define that. But the thing is, but it's not personal. There's nothing personal. I don't feel it's personal. I don't think he does. So I don't want to go on, but I just like to go on that same theme, that regardless of what I vote for or who I vote for, I respect the fact that people ran for this office, people got elected to this office, and someone said to me, well, Ron, who's going to run? You know, you're not running. I said, well, we had, 27 some people apply for that vacancy, wasn't it? I mean, let's see how many of them are willing to put in the shoe leather and run. So, I mean, I just want to be clear about me, not about anybody else, but about me. If I think somebody says something I disagree with, I might say something. If you agree with it, I mean, just because I don't sit and praise and say, well, you know, this is the wonderful project by the, he pays a whole bunch of people to say that for him. And they're on the payroll, so I don't have to do it. But I mean, I've worked with every executive I've tried to, and I continue to try and work with Mr. McClure. So I mean, you know, we've got big things ahead of us, but I don't judge the success up here as what did I vote for that was put forward by the administration, what didn't I vote for. I judge myself at the end of the year on, did I do what I think is in the best interest of the majority of the people of Northampton County, regardless of who they are, regardless of what party they're registered with. And I certainly, whatever I do, it's not saying you aren't good enough for this or Ms. Keegan isn't. It has none of that. It's just you get in these bodies, you disagree. That's why I love watching the British. My wife goes and watches something else, but I love questions for the Prime Minister. I love their system of getting up and going and boo. I think it's great. It's a great expression of the public and speaking to things, not taking it personally. If I took things personally, I've told Ms. Hefner this, she knows it. I said, yeah, you've got to really get that turtle shell going early on, or you'll go crazy in this job, because everybody's willing to tell you, well, you're stupid, or how you're wrong, or how you're this, or you're that. And you decide, look, I'm going to do what I think is right, and people can say whatever the hell they want to say. But anyway, I just want you to know, I don't think there's anything wrong with your candidacy here. And I'm not saying you did anything bad, okay? I appreciate you reaching out to me. That's the way it should be done. That's all, I'm done.
Thank you. I need to call the question.
Mr. Corpora,
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Mr. Giovanni,
Fargo Hefner. Lori.
Mr. Goffredo,
Lori.
Mr. Heckman,
Ms. Hefner,
Ms. Keegan,
Mr. Jeff Warren.
Mr. Kraft,
Jeff Warren.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
I'm going to abstain till the end.
Mr. Warren,
Jeff Horn?
Mr. Brown.
Lori Hefner.
Ms. Hefner is elected with a vote of 5-3 with 1 abstention.
Thank you. Next, we have nominations for the Vice President of Council. Is there anyone who'd like to make a nomination?
I'd like to nominate John Goffredo.
I would like to nominate Jeff Warren.
Ron?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Kapora.
Any other nominations? Any conversations?
Yes, I would have something to say. Mr. Heckman, you just told Mr. Warren that he didn't have enough experience, and then you're going to elect, oh, you nominated Mr. Kapoor?
I questioned my own experience level for presidency, and I said, Mr. Warren, after 12 months, do you think you have enough experience? I don't think Mr. Heckman said that.
Okay, I'm
And
sorry,
it's vice president, not president, so.
sorry.
Call for the vote?
Mr. Goffredo,
I vote for myself.
Mr. Heckman,
Mr. Kapora,
Ms. Keegan,
Mr. Jeff Warren.
Mr. Kraft,
Jeff Warren.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
Abstain till the end.
Mr. Warren,
Jeff Warren?
Mr. Brown,
Fredo.
Mr. Corpora,
Mr. Goffredo.
Mr. Giovanni.
Goffredo.
Vote of 4 to, oh wait, I'm sorry, Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Do we need 5? Does it need a 5? Mr. Goffredo?
So by a vote of 5-3 to 1, Mr. Goffredo is elected Vice President.
Thank you. Next, we have to consider the position of Solicitor for Northampton County Council. Could someone make a motion to nominate a candidate?
I'll make a motion to nominate Mr. Spadoni.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, do we need to do a roll call vote, or do we have to, can we do acclamation?
No, you have to
Roll call vote.
Mr. Heckman,
yes.
Ms. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Kraft,
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
Yes.
Mr. Warren,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Corpora,
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Goffredo.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.